Nathan Green, former pro golfer. I was going to say, you're back into golf lately, aren't you?
I played a little bit towards the end of last year. Once I turned 50, I always said I'd try and play a little bit, and the tour sort of came through town, so I played probably around about 10 events, a few one-day and two-day pro-ams, and then a couple of three-day events, which were very enjoyable. I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would, actually. So.
But you have to be 50 to play the seniors, don't you?
Yep.
I mean, what, is it getting the craving to compete again? Did you always have it, or did you lose it?
For golf, I'd never. I think towards probably towards the end of my main spell in golf, sort of the end of 14, probably from 2010 when I was starting to struggle a little bit. I got over the stress. I got over the travel. Got over being away from the family and that sort of thing. So, my kids actually encouraged me to go play a little bit. They'd never really known me as a golfer. They knew I played golf, but they'd never seen me playing and that sort of stuff.
You haven't got one on the bag, have you?
I've had nephews on the bag, and then I actually wimped out of one last year. I had a chance to go and play the Senior British Open, and hadn't been playing for about 3 months leading up to it, and gave myself a month to try and get it in some sort of shape, and some of the old sort of demons sort of started coming up, and ended up giving it a miss, and then so I sort of put it on the back burner a bit from there, and then I played a couple of months worth of events when I could towards the end of last year, and then actually I had a chance. I think it was they changed some criteria, and I had a 2-week warning that I would have had to start last week in a US senior event, and same thing. I had other stuff going on at the time, and
I mean, you still got to pay your way to get there.
Oh, you always pay your way to get there.
Yeah, like I suppose like it was when you were on the PGA.
Yeah, you always had sponsors to cover. Once you're on the PGA Tour, your sponsors will cover basically all your travel and caddy fees for the year, sort of thing.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
That was always covered. But now that I don't have any of them, it would have been, and that wasn't so much the financial issue. It was a little bit of going over there and then I hadn't played a whole lot in the last month, and going over there and embarrassing myself, or
I suppose you're in a position now where you could go over there, take the family, play, and then have a holiday.
Yeah, and I may do that at some point in the future, but just all the other stuff I do at the moment that keeps me off the golf course. I don't know if I was going to do it, I'd like to have a good shot at it, whether it was going over there Monday qualifying and doing that side of things, or doing a Q school. But I really enjoy my life the way it is at the moment, and golf, as much as I enjoy playing, it's pretty much a secondary thing for me these days. I'll play it when I can and when it fits in. But
we played at the Australian PGA Seniors Championship at Richmond Golf Club in November last year. I think we got a bit of
Yeah, this is a hard shot, Gowie. You really got to move it and really got to hit it good out of a little bit of a scrappy lie.
If I hit that would have hit a fucking tree,
line.
no doubt.
Let's see if it.
one thing I can do is hit it left to right. If I was on the other side of the fairway, it would have been a different story. But,
And you can see the crowds flock to these senior events.
They do. Yeah, that was probably as bored as I was at that point. But it was, that was actually really enjoyable. The 2 weeks of the bigger tournaments actually really enjoyable. I played.
Yeah.
It's more catching up with the guys I played with.
I was just about to say that.
Peter Lonard and those guys are playing. Stoltzy, Matty Goggin, and Matty won the week before that one. He didn't play that one, but there's some really good golfers, and they're much the same. You sort of slot in back where you used to be as well. Lonard was always much better than me, and over 3 rounds he still seems to be able to get you. And you're sort of better than the guys who you were better than before, even though you don't play anymore. But very enjoyable, really well-run events, and looking forward to doing it at the end of this year again, actually.
I know there's a fellow, but he's still the Cronulla Sharks media manager, and he's a very good golfer to the point where he's knocked back the chance to play on the senior tour to stay as the Cronulla Sharks media manager. But I think what a great position to, even later in life, you can still do something with golf. It's never a late time.
Yeah, I think you do see a few of those guys out there. There's been some guys who had pretty decent amateur careers, and they get to 50 and they think, oh, what the hell, there's not a whole lot you can do in amateur golf at that point. So they turn pro, and they're actually a great little draw for the senior tour. They seem to be carrying a lot less demons than the guys who played for a living up until that point. And you see...
Well, you probably talk to each other now, would you? Like before it was like...
we always talk to each other. I said they're the days I enjoyed, is when most of the time it was pretty friendly. It was, especially with those guys. But I think it's the guys who did it for so long. Generally, there's part of their game that eventually let them down. I always had a great short game, but chipping left me a bit. I got the yips a bit with the putter, and so I went to a long putter, and now I claw the putter and still putt pretty good. But I have driver issues. But a lot of the guys who have just played amateur golf, they've always just played for more the enjoyment of it and to win sort of smaller events, that sort of thing. So they get out there, they're actually pretty fresh.
You mentioned that you've sort of moved back into a lifestyle. You've been in this lifestyle, living back in the place that you grew up in the Hunter. But before preparing for this, I actually asked AI what Nathan Green, the golfer, is doing with himself these days. And last I checked, he's technically eligible to play qualifiers and mini tours if he feels like it. But nah, he's not chasing majors anymore. More likely coaching or hitting range balls with mates. Is that?
I very rarely hit range balls, but it's my game's actually probably better. I think I realised over time that I probably overdid the hitting it on the range and that sort of stuff. I always thought that more was better and that side of things. And now I just find if I play somewhat regularly, then I think overall I'm a decent athlete with decent coordination, and the more natural I keep it, the better I play. So.
Well, I was going to ask, a lot of guys have coaches. I mean, obviously you had a coach when you were young going through, but a lot of other players have coaches, probably more when they get into a bit of trouble or they get into a bad patch. Did you ever have a coach now and then, or was it?
I had coaches. I had great coaches all the way along, actually. I had Neville Bell from Charlestown as a junior, who was fantastic. Peter Tutt from Waratah helped me a little bit as well. When I turned pro, I had Jason Laws at Newcastle, who I did a bit with. Did a little bit with a guy at Craig Ranch where I lived in Dallas, and then the last couple of years I did a little bit of work with Mark Blackburn. I think he's now rated the #1 coach in the world or something like that now. Does work with Rosie.
But would it be more for when you weren't playing well, or because again, you don't want to change your style already, so it's just tinkering a little bit and probably more for the mindset rather than
different coaches do different stuff. I think some coaches teach to a technique, which is sort of what Gary Edwin was an Australian guy who coached Paul Gow, Rod Pampling, Peter Lonard and a few others, and he taught a specific kind of swing. I always wanted – you always sort of want what you don't have. I always struggled to hit a draw, and usually the more events I played in a row, the more I struggled to keep the ball in play. So I was always trying to find something that was just going to be a little bit more consistent. And in general, you're sort of playing really good golf. It feels like about 2 months of the year, and the rest of the year you struggle a little bit with certain aspects of the game. So you're probably trying to make that ratio a little bit higher and just be that little bit more consistent. But
I just get the feeling that you do not miss the grind. And I saw an interview. It was a podcast with James Niddies, who's doing well as a broadcaster now. And funny man too, hasn't he? Got some stories, but he actually said he actually misses the grind, the preparation leading up to a tournament, the pressure. I think you were the opposite.
Yeah, I enjoyed the game and I enjoyed the preparation. I just never enjoyed the stress that came with it, the trying to keep your card, the anxiety when you're in contention and that sort of thing. And I said, as I mentioned the other day, I was never a great closer and I ended up getting sort of massive anxiety in last rounds and that sort of stuff. Yeah. And to the point where it affected my golf a fair bit. So that side of it, I just don't miss it at all. I'm sort of amazed looking back that I was able to get through with the mentality I had on that side of it. Mentally, as far as grinding and being and shooting a score, my mentality was quite good. But just how I was able to control my emotions in events cost me a lot, I think.
James Nitty's just staying on him. What a character. Also Charlestown
boy,
Geez, they churned some off the conveyor belt at Charlestown, didn't they, for a while?
Yeah, Newcastle was really good. I think Charlestown had a couple. They had
Jake Higginbottom, Blake Windred more recently. Yeah.
Belmont had Nick Flanagan. They always had good players out there. It was just a good area to play golf. I think the country area is still fairly active in producing our better golfers, just much better access to golf courses and playing in comps and that sort of thing. So
are we producing the young golfers as much as what we were?
I think talent-wise we are. I think there's stuff that organisations could do a lot better to prepare them. I think they try and make things too easy for them in some respects. I think in our day, I learned a lot from we had myself and once I started getting decent, I was starting to travel. I had the same manager as Paul Gow and Peter Lonard, and I was able to see just how hard they work and how hard they prepare, and even to the point of what they did while they're on the road traveling and that sort of stuff. They were very professional, very organised, and that part of it I took a lot from and tried to put it into game. And but I think these days the associations try and make that process a lot easier. So we were early on when I first turned pro, playing Canadian Tour, and that you're staying in divey motels, you're travelling 4 in a car, there's guys sleeping on floors and stuff, whereas nowadays our better golfers will have much more funding and that road's just that little bit easier, I think, which I don't think it toughens the players up enough to develop the resilience and that sort of stuff you need to be a very good player.
Just staying back on James Nitty's.
Yep.
I know you know this, Dave, but James, when he got on the US PGA, and I think that first year he was on it, he got asked to be the very first bachelor in the US. You know, the show that will show The Bachelor. Yeah. So this is before it kicked off, before it went into 1,000 countries. But it was always just like a pilot. And it was like young Australian golfer. It was just the perfect prototype to be the first bachelor in America. And he went, sorry, I've just made the PGA. This is my dream. Sorry, I can't do it. And then fell off the tour that year and struggled to get on pretty much for the rest of his career.
Yeah, he was a great golfer, great bloke, and I was able to catch up with him a couple of years ago when I went over, and he was just sort of starting to settle into a commentary role on the secondary tour, and it was actually good to hear him on the weekend doing the commentary at Pebble Beach, which was good. But fantastic player. It was there is such a fine line between keeping your card and not keeping your card. And
but wasn't there another time he was just about to get back on the US PGA? He's the final
event of the year.
Final event of the year. He's leading the competition into the final round, sleeps in and misses his tee time and gets disqualified. And there's his chance gone again. He was leading by, I think, 2 or 3 shots. In the end, a +2 or 3 still would have got him on.
Yeah, it was.
It's just
There's some terrible stories about it because said he was known for enjoying himself on weeks off, and he was super diligent on tournament weeks. And I can't remember the exact story. It was something like he was struggling to sleep and he took a pill or something like that in the morning that made him drowsy, and he woke up 20 minutes for his tea time and he was staying half hour away or something like that. So it was it's one of those terrible stories. We have nightmares about that sort of thing.
Have you ever missed a tea time?
I've been close, never missed one. I was sort of waiting around down in Mexico, I think it was, and I'm looking at the first tee. I'm thinking, I'm after that group, but I end up being off the 10th tee, and luckily Rod Pampley said something, sprint into the tee, and never got a penalty. So I don't think I ever got a penalty. I said a lot of my career I find a bit blurry now. I don't really remember a whole lot. But don't think I ever missed a tee time.
You travelled a lot, obviously, on tour. When I interviewed Mark Viduka once, he said to me, Michael, I visited lots of countries, lots of places, but I never got to see them. In regards to they'd fly in, bus to a motel, play the game, back on the plane. Was that a bit like you? It was just like, I suppose it all depends whether you miss a cut too. If you've got a little bit
definitely
more time.
Yeah, much the same though. I said we'd usually Monday was your travel day, or you'd get there Monday. You might try and sneak in 9 holes. Tuesday practice round, and then Wednesday was either a pro-am or you just hit a few balls. And Thursday, Friday you play, and for an afternoon, you might get a chance on one of those afternoon or one of the morning tee times. Usually an afternoon tee time, you might still get up and do a little bit of gym work or a bit of a stretch, and then get to the course early. And then your early morning tee time, you're sort of done by about 1. You might have a chance to duck out. But yeah, I was never one for. Usually I'd use that afternoon just for a bit of rest and maybe duck to the gym or something like that. But it was pretty regimented sort of lifestyle. We might duck out for dinner a couple of times a week. And I said overall I led a pretty mundane kind of life. I was never a big drinker, never a big gambler or never a big partier.
And on tour, I suppose that would have been easy to happen.
Oh, easily, yeah. There was plenty of guys who struggled. I struggled mentally with a few things. I knew a few of the other boys did. Unfortunately, the situation of a guy last year who looked like he was doing really well, his name escapes me at the moment, but he committed suicide middle of the year somewhere. After playing the Colonial event, and he'd had a fairly successful year even up to that point. So there's plenty of guys struggling. I think it's one of those sports that is tough mentally. You got no set money. Whatever money you make, you kind of do earn. Besides the sponsorship money, it's and if you don't make a certain amount of money, then you lose your job for the following year. So.
Well, I mean, how catastrophic is it falling off the PGA, the US PGA Tour to the what is it called now? It used to be the Nationwide or
Corn Ferry, yeah.
Yeah,
Corn
I think
Ferry
before
Tour.
that it was the Nike.com.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the difference, in regards to, I suppose, getting things done for you, or is it totally different?
Totally different money just because of the purses. I think when I was on the PGA Tour, the average purse was sort of maybe 4 or 5 million per week. And then the web.com was something like between 300 and 400,000 per week. But your sponsorship money was very minimal. You might get 20 grand worth of sponsorship a year. So massive differences there, and quality of courses you play are very different. Just a very cutthroat sort of tour. There's so many good players on that tour, and in the course you played, you had to shoot nothing. You have plenty of 5 or 6 under cuts, whereas on the main tour, a lot of the cuts around about then might be 1 under or that sort of thing, which suited my game better. I said there's also other pressures associated trying to play enough years to get your pension and stuff like that, and it was a difficult way to make a living, I think. But
you knew when it was time to go?
I knew when it was time to go just because I wasn't enjoying it. I wasn't enjoying the travel. I was FaceTiming. It got hard to travel. I think I had so 2014 was my last year, and I sort of split a little bit between main tour and secondary tour. And, you sort of just FaceTiming. that sort of stuff, and you're seeing your kid at home, and it was really tough. And so I just sort of realised if I wasn't 100% committed to what I was doing, so even when I was 100% committed, I still found it very tough. Yeah. So I said, that'll do me, I think. So we decided to come home at the end of 2014 after living there for 9 years. And
because you're based in Texas?
Just north of Dallas, about 40 minutes north of Dallas.
There you go. Is that the mansion in the background?
A little 4-bedroom condo. Got a lot of bang for your buck over there. Actually, it was a great little house.
Didn't keep it?
No, we kept it for a little bit. And then it was pretty much about 300 metres from the clubhouse at Craig Ranch, which now hosts the Byron Nelson Classic in Dallas. But great place to live.
What's the reason for Dallas, for that area, for Texas?
Just very central.
Yeah,
it's a central hub for American Airlines. So you basically one flight to everywhere. No state tax was also very nice. But, so you generally find guys would either...
It was either that or Monaco.
Yeah, so guys would either be there or Florida, or I think even Vegas might have been that sort of setup as well.
You mentioned... You mentioned to me that you played a little bit of cricket over there as well.
Yeah, we had a cricket team that played
in Texas, a cricket comp in Texas.
Oh, we did have a cricket comp in Dallas. It was one of the members at the club, an Indian guy, asked me to come down and play a couple of games. It was on.
Where there's Indians, there's a game of cricket, isn't there?
Mate, and I can believe how much there was. Like we'd go down and there'd be 2 games of red ball cricket and about 10 games of tape ball cricket on this massive oval. So I think now they host some sort of IPL series over there. I think some of the Aussie guys go over there and play for San Diego or something like that. But it was also on tour. We had a team that played, I think we played 1 or 2 games, but it was played a team in Charlotte and we destroyed them. I think we had a couple of guys from Zimbabwe, Brendan de Jong and his caddy, and myself. I think Lee Diffie, the commentator who was over there doing NASCAR, he came and played. Matt Goggin, Mark Leishman, all guys who were pretty decent cricketers. And Marcus Ambrose, I think, came down, just had a few beers with us. He was based out in Charlotte at the time. But it was, I had times when I was on tour, I was just looking for something else to do, another interest to.
I think you played soccer over there.
Played soccer as well. I had an indoor team, and we also had a team that played a game in Charlotte and a game in Florida a couple of times. So it wasn't every year, but it was a couple of times we had. But Sergio played, and a couple other guys played in that one. The Spaniards were extremely good.
Mate, if he was in the next tournament, I would have took him out. You're not playing the next game.
Mate, they were extremely good. But I think someone made the comment that next time we'd play with 2 balls, one for Sergio and one for the rest of us. He wasn't big on passing, but it was it was good. It was just good fun. It was good social stuff. But as I said, just to break up the monotony of golf, then a few other things we could do.
Well, you continued on the cricket as well. You had a family sporting moment not that long ago for the Toronto District Cricket Club. You played with your 2 boys.
Yep, we're not the strongest club in the world. We've got that is probably about my level, 3rd grade, and maybe against some of the lesser 2nd grade sides around town. I can hold me bat. At the moment, I've been forced up into 1st grade, which is well beyond my capabilities. Really? But
wow,
mainly just to make sure that guys we had a couple of young guys that were playing 1st grade who were hating it, so we tried to get them back into 2s. But that is probably the best day of my life. That was. And
there's been some good days.
I just think it was totally different. There's stuff that was rewarding in my career, but that day as well, we played with my brother, his 2 nephews. My 2 nephews. So his boys, my brother-in-law Mick, and we actually got a win, which was very rare. I think we've had 3 wins in the club all year this year. But
so which one's Mitchell? Is it the
Taylor's my older boy?
So Taylor got a 5-fer in that.
Yeah, he just bowls offies, and
Mitchell scored the winning run.
Jesse, sorry.
Yep. Jesse scored the winning run.
He was on face for the winning runs. They ended up being 4 byes, but we were out there together, which was brilliant. Like he's I wish I had his mentality with my sport. He's super confident. Taylor's a little bit more like me. He's worries a lot more about it and gets down very quick on himself. But his cricket's going really good. But the young fella, he will try anything. He's happy to go out there and face whatever and believe that he's good enough to do it. But they're both doing really well, and I just love the fact that they're loving the cricket. But it was an awesome day to be able to share that, I think.
And any either of them picking up a golf club?
The younger one does. He's off about 15. I think I've actually got an interesting weekend coming up because he's playing B-grade pennants at Newcastle and for Toronto, and I've got a caddy for him. He's never played match play, so
you got a caddy for him. Wow,
I'll have to caddy for him. So I was actually talking to my caddy, asking if there was any interesting stuff he remembered today, and if he had any tips, and he goes, "Well, I just hope he's not like you." So that's about.
But just staying on cricket and soccer, you love those sports. With soccer as well, your brother was very good. Darren was a very good soccer player as well, and also become a club pro as well in golf. But you went from a sports where it's obviously team sport to individual, totally different. I get the feeling that you love the team sports,
I love all sport,
because with individual, especially golf or tennis, you stuff up, you've stuffed up. Team sports, you can have a bad day, someone else is carrying the can.
Yeah, I love the challenge of any sport. So we grew up. So Darren's the main reason that I got as good as I did, or sort of at any sport. He was a very good footballer. Mm-hmm. I think he was playing grade cricket when he was 12 or 13 as well, and very good squash player. So we used to work at the squash centre at Belmont on Saturdays. So as always, you'd go play soccer in the morning or cricket, back to the squash courts, and you'd play. Sorry, what did I say? Back to the squash courts, play squash and a bit of soccer outside all day. And Sundays was generally golf day. We'd sort of play cadets at Waratah, play 9 holes cadets there, and then we generally go out and play a bit more after that or whatever. So my life's always been based around sport, and it still is, and I'm going to be extremely disappointed when the body shuts down. I won't be able to do it. So I'm squeezing as much as I can, but the I don't know, the team sports, this could be the first year I don't play soccer, but the cricket, I like the social side of it as well as the trying to get. I think it's a sport I can still actually get better at, and that for me is sort of really valuable. I suppose. I think.
Well, if you can hit a golf ball, mate, you'd be seeing them like watermelons out in the middle, wouldn't you?
Not really. That's a tough. That's a tough bit. I said we played a spinner on the weekend, and the guy's just trying to tell me to watch his hand. I said, I'll watch the ball coming out of his hand. I said, I'm lucky to see what side of the wicket he's bowling from, let alone what he's doing with it. But it's
Was Darren a better soccer player than you?
Yeah, he was better than me at everything. I think that's what pushed me to. I just wanted to be better than him at something, and so it'd be backyard stuff. With the football, I couldn't get the ball off him. With cricket, I couldn't get him out. He had me used to I had to chuck the ball to get it to a point where it'd even be a challenge for him. And then golf, we were sort of fairly similar, and it was more that when he just decided he went trainee straight out of school, so he went into the shop route, never tried to play, and I was always decent at golf. I got good late. I got good more. There was always the dominant juniors and that sort of stuff. I remember playing the Jack Newton International, they used to call it, up at Cessnock, and there was guys when we were playing under 12s that were off 1 and scratch and stuff. I think I was still off 12 or something like that, but it was more towards my 16, 17 that I started performing all right in a few events and started getting picked in a few state teams and stuff like that, and still never played above number 5 in the state team. There was always a lot better golfers than me around. Even locally, I think there was Kurt Lind, who was a very good golfer out of Belmont as well. But Yeah, once we turned pro, I tended to improve a lot more once I did, yeah.
Could Darren have done what you did?
Maybe not. Same things that sort of held him back a little bit with his football. He was always a bit smaller and a bit slow. He wouldn't mind me saying that. And with golf, I was never a long hitter, but I hit it longer than he did by a bit. And as good as his game was, he probably just didn't hit it far enough to be super competitive. But when he plays pro-ams, that sort of stuff, he still generally shoots about.
Well, I know I played soccer against him. So he was playing at Swansea, I was playing at Adamstown, and I used to play against him in the rep teams. I was in Newcastle, he was in Macquarie. I don't think I won a fucking game against your brother.
Yeah.
He was just, and then I think he played for Azuri, I think it might have been 1 year. And then someone said, I said, where's Greeny? And they said, he's going to concentrate on golf. I said, oh, thank fuck for that. You don't have to worry about him anymore.
Yeah, he was very good. His ball skills were as good as I've seen. And even not so much now. He's starting to struggle a little bit fitness-wise and physically in that, but he was sort of filling occasionally in our five-a-side team, and his skills are still there and that sort of thing. He always had a great base of awareness on the football field and, very good player.
You might be able to pull him out to play for the Stags. So you're the vice president of the Toronto Stags Soccer Club, aren't you?
Yeah, we got involved there back about 5 or 6 years ago, maybe a little more. The club was really struggling. I think we'd come last for a few seasons in a row, but it sort of coincided when I got involved was when we'd had a fairly good group of kids starting to come through, and since then I was able to attract a couple of my nephews are now playing there who are pretty handy, and they were able to attract a few of their mates. So the last few years they've been very competitive, pretty good side, and got a pretty strong junior and youth program there now as well. So it's all going really well. So I've probably stepped back a little bit from that this year, more because of my kids' involvement in cricket. Yeah. It's probably more their predominant sport now. So I'll still be involved in the soccer club as long as they're playing. But
you get to man the steak tent?
What's that? Well, I was even better. I was usually the beer tent. So it was.
Is there actually DSL steaks out there, or is it just sausages?
I don't know. They had a good mix last year of a bit of everything. But
I find I was talking to someone the other day where you can go around junior games now, junior clubs. You can't find a steak sandwich. They're all sausages. No, but when I was a kid, there was always steaks.
Usually I think you still do steak sandwiches out there, but it's we had a really good canteen there last year. It was good. Yeah.
At Elk Architecture, we don't just design buildings, we shape the spaces where life happens. From concept to construction, our award-winning architects bring our vision to life with precision, passion, and purpose. Whether it's your dream home or your next big commercial project, trust Elk Architecture to build what matters most. Elk Architecture, designed for life, built for the future.
Augusta, the US Masters, it's the absolute pinnacle of golf. What was it like when you turned up to Augusta for the first time?
Yeah, when I won the year before, it was one of the first things I actually thought of. It was something I never thought I'd actually get to do, was play Augusta. So you get one practice round, or I think you might be able to go there a couple of times. But I went up there a few months before the event and just got a game in on my own. And it's a superb place. It's one of the rare places, even as a pro, where you're walking around and feeling like you are definitely a visitor and you are not super welcome. But great golf course and great event. I think the week of even when I won the year before, my game was not in an ideal spot. I think it was I won in maybe August or something like that. And up to that point, I had no chance of keeping my card. I think I only had about 200,000 up, but that sort of turned my year around, and I was still struggling with my game the next year at the point when Augusta came around. And I went there I wanted to make the cut. And I think getting up there early and having a game, that little bit of aura of the place, you sort of get past that nervousness of that. I was first group on the first day, and I was first shot of the tournament. So I followed.
Wow.
I followed.
No pressure there.
No, well, Nicholas and Gary Player and that. I'm trying to think who was there that year. Nicholas Player and Palmer. I think they just hit off, so I was able to get there and watch that. And my main goal was just to try and get it past where Gary Player hit it. Like, fairly low bar at that point, but incredibly nervous on the first tee there. I was lucky I was playing with a good mate, and his caddy was a good mate of mine as well. So got through the first day shooting, I think I shot even par, pretty steady round, or 1 over or something like that. And I was coming up the second day I thought I needed a birdie or at least a par to make the cut. I thought it was probably a birdie at that point. And I've hit it in the right trees and it's just popped out. So pretty much impossible shot. I tried to cut a 3-wood around the corner. And at one point it was on the 9th green and then rolled all the way back down the hill. If anyone's sort of seen the course, that rolled back down the hill and I had a good group of mates there. I had my brother and Chris Bowling, a mate of mine who's now coaching. I think he's goalkeeper coach for the Wanderers now. He's walking along and some bloke says to him something about, mate, your Aussie mate's a bit of a hack or something like that. And Bowler sort of said, oh, look, I bet you makes par. I think he'd had about 10 beers by that point. But so I had about 120 metres to go and Bowler bet this guy $100 that I'd make par. So I've hit a wedge over the back and then chipped in to make the cut, and this guy ran off and didn't pay. But that got me. I still thought I might miss by 1 at that point, but made the cut. I think I shot 80 the following round in the third round to be pretty easily dead last of the guys who made the cut. That's probably one round I wish I could have back. I think because I didn't find the course overly difficult. I think most people, if they played it, wouldn't consider it overly difficult. It's just once you start going for a few shots and try and push it a little bit, there's some big numbers waiting for you. Yeah. And then I think the last round was much the same. I think I started poorly. I made 3 birdies to finish the 9 and then had 2 eagles the back 9. So I think I had 2 eagles and 4 birdies and still shot 75. So there was a whole lot of other messes in there, and that was sort of where my game was at that point. It was pretty frail.
Well, we're going to show something you'd be dining out on it the rest of your life.
Okay.
I think there is.
And Nathan Green, who is 15 over par, hole in its traditional back left Sunday placement. It gathers.
At the time of
Does it, Nick?
Oh, Vern, here you go.
Is this on your big screen at home just going around and around on a loop?
I actually laughed about this. I was actually laughed about this morning because you'll notice there that my caddy doesn't really congratulate me because we weren't even talking at this point.
What happened?
I think he just had enough. He'd had enough of me. It was a tough day. It was a tough few days for him. So he's.
So you didn't sack him before that, did you?
No. I said if anyone was going to sack him, he sacked me in the end. He just said after about 10 years, he said, "Mate, that's enough."
Well, mate, you're 15 over. You hit an ace at Augusta. Like, mate, just walk off, wouldn't you? But I got a funny story. Ken Sutcliffe, Channel 9 icon. They used to send him over to Augusta every year to do that, and apparently a few days before, all the broadcasters used to put their names in a barrel and a couple of names used to get picked out, and those 2 names got to play around at Augusta. Kenny gets his picked out, Ken Sutcliffe, and he goes, I'm sorry, you're going to have to give it to someone else because I just don't play golf.
Yeah. You'd go buy some clubs. You'd have to. It's
That's Ken. I'll tell you what, that is Kenny Sutcliffe to a T. Mate, just staying on holes in one, you picked up another one, $500,000, $500,000 for one hit, and it was actually you got more money for that than the first prize purse, which was $180. Not that you won that.
Nathan Green Tap Sports Bet. Remember, this is 500,000 Australian dollars for a hole-in-one. So this looks pretty good. It's
It was always going in.
Yeah, I think a 5-iron from memory.
I'm a bit disappointed it wasn't a slam dunk.
Yeah, mate, you can't land him near the hole at Huntingdale. It's always usually one club less and go from there. But it was a really important shot at a really important time in my career, that one. It was 2001. I think I'd been a pro for about 3 years and doing decent. Then I think I ended up coming second that week as well. And then come second the following week to Peter Lonard in the Players' Championship. So it was a 2-week period where, basically turned my whole life around and allowed me the freedom to go and travel a bit and try and play overseas a bit. Yeah.
Just one shot can do that.
It did, yeah.
How many holes-in-ones would you have got in your career, like in your life? I suppose?
Yeah, I think it's about 7. It's slightly different every time I count it. I always forget 1 or 2, and then I don't count practice round ones, so I think I've had 1 in a practice round that doesn't really count, but those 2 were good ones. I think I had 1 in the Australian Open at Moona Links and a couple just in regular tour events. But yeah, don't remember the courses. I've never been that into recalling all that sort of stuff.
I'll tell you what, me and Dave would be recalling it, let me tell you. Now, you've had some good days, but you've also had a few tough days at the office. And this one shows up on your Facebook a fair bit, usually by unwanted friends around birthdays.
Yeah.
It's almost like they're never going to let you forget it.
Yeah, Johnny Miller was pretty he's not a big fan of my technique on these ones, but this could be the first time I've watched this video all the way through. I'll usually cut it off by now.
We should have left this to the last, Dave. Now, on that one, you knocked out another ball. There's 2.
I didn't even know.
There's 2 balls.
Yeah, someone came around. I was still quite hot when I walked off 18.
Obviously, you must have.
Yeah.
I'm glad you got mine out.
Well, I said, someone came up to me, a reporter came up to me after the round. I was running hot still. That was the second last hole of the event. I think I slipped from a top 10 to about an 18th from memory, and so it cost me quite a bit. But yeah, this journalist sort of mentioned, is that the first time you've hit 2 balls with the one shot? And I had no idea what he was talking about, and I think I sort of just, might have said a few savoury things and kept walking. But it was, super tough stretch there at the end of the Honda event. But at least I know how to play it out of the mud now. I think it was one of the first times I ever tried it, and maybe never again.
But there's times, I mean, obviously as a pro golfer, you're going to get those times, but it's almost like, we can go to work and have a bad day at the office and no one sees it.
Yeah.
But everyone's there. It's on television. It's for everyone to see, and it's almost like a car crash. And do you feel that for the average golfer, they actually love seeing it because it's like, I feel so much better now.
Yeah, I think my friends especially love seeing it. But it's definitely some of the tough moments that happen to you without just being something you say. They were that stuff that make you a better golfer in the end, I think, some of the decision making and going through issues with the shanks when I was playing Canada, and I still remember clearly to this day the feeling of 3-putting the last at I think it was like the Australian Players' Championship to miss the cut. There's a few moments that are still very clear to me. That one's obviously pretty clear, and but they made me a better golfer in the end, I think.
But you see, people will think when they think of a shocker, it's a terrible thing to say. You think of Greg Norman, 1996, Augusta, where it was just six-shot lead coming in the final round and lose by 5 shots. And it was just, again, it was like compelling television. You could just see this happening, and you could just see probably forcing shots in the end. I don't know, but
yeah, you want to run and hide. There's times like that where it's sort of on, or it's certainly part of it's going to be on TV, and so you just want to hide. You get to a point where you've got no feel for your swing. I don't know if that's I think it might have been a different one where Norman blows it way right on 18 with like a 4 on a 5 on to lose as well. And that's it. You get to a point where you just basically can't feel where the club head is where it's going to be at impact. And it's an extremely hard game. It just sort of keeps getting away from you in those situations. And it's most of us, when it happens to us, we're not on TV. But guys like Norman, it happened to. Yeah. Some of the stuff that happened to that guy to lose events is incredible.
And it's like he's never lived it down, even though he's, the career that he had. People think about that. They don't think about the British Opens. They think about that capitulation.
Yeah, he was so dominant, such a dominant player. And
you turned pro in 1998, starting on the PGA Tour of Australasia. And in the Aussie winner, you competed in Canada. Was that important to keep playing, in two different
Yeah, you just want to be playing 4-rounders, and I still encourage some of the young guys today it might cost you a bit of money, but what you'll get in return will be invaluable. There's so many good players overseas, and there's so many guys who are hungry to make it. So if you play the Aussie Tour and then just go and play Pro-Ams against lesser opponents, so you might be able to save a bit of money in that respect, but the value to your game isn't there. You want to be out there toughening up against good players and playing 4-rounders and trying to improve that side of your game, because at the end of the day, that's where most of the money is, whether you're playing DP Tour or Live Tour or even the US Tour and the web.com. You need to be able to play 4 rounds. You need to be pretty tough, and you really need to be able to have a game that's a bit bulletproof to tough situations.
You really hit the ground running between 2002 and 2005. You were on the nationwide tour, which was the secondary tour to the PGA. You come 18th in 2005. You're on the big dance in 2006. Did you expect it to be that so quick?
Not really. I never sat down and had goals or expectations on where my game would be. One of the main things I put it down to was actually, I think I went and played, I always get the years a little bit wrong, but 2002 I played the web.com and played decent. I can't remember where I finished that year, but just okay. And I'd blown out. I think I was I was carrying plenty of weight and stuff like that, and I'd just sort of fallen away a bit. I went back and had a year of, played the Aussie Tour, and then I had a year of soccer. I actually went back and played for the reserve grade for the Stags for a year. Got super fit, and then I found that when I went back and played, I was playing at a much better level. So I think it was 2004, 2005. I think I finished mid-30s or 40s the first year, and then the second year I finished top 20 to get my card. So as a bit of a late bloomer. I think I was around 29 by that point, which wasn't probably super late by standards those days, but by today's standards, most of the guys who are going to be on tour by 23, 24. But I was playing some pretty good golf around that point.
I mean, you came fifth in your first tour event, and you go on to finish well inside the top 50. And I suppose for a rookie on tour, I mean that's a fairly good return, isn't it?
Yeah, I think I finished just behind Camilo in Rookie of the Year that year, which was slightly disappointing. I fell away a little bit towards the end of the season, but the start of the season I played excellent. I had fifth in my first event in Hawaii, and that was with a really good back end of the tournament, which was probably the most pleasing thing. I think I might have shot a 64 last round or something around about that. And I played with a couple of the guys who were a little bit intimidating too. I think I played with VJ and maybe Retief that week. Or
what was VJ like to play with?
He was great to play with. He talked. We sort of he was sort of chatty and pretty casual about it all. I always like playing with guys who just talked and between shots and that sort of stuff, and were pretty casual. But he was, I think at that point he was a phenomenal golfer.
Someone told me he could hit the ball left and right-handed. He was just that good.
He could hit left and right-handed, and he also, you can see it online, I think. There's just this warm-up tool you can use called the Orange Whip, and it's just basically an orange ball on the end of a club, and he can hit it 250 with that as well. Like his practicing though was next level. I think there was a caddy one year that he just called it quits when VJ rang it on Christmas Day and said, "We're heading down the course," and it was crazy. And then his idea of a holiday was. I think Aaron Price and him ended up being pretty good mates. Aaron was a good mate of mine. He was from Cronulla, and they both lived in Ponte Vedra, where Sawgrass is. And I think Aaron was invited to VJ's house in Hawaii, and he goes, "Oh, come to Hawaii. I've got a range there at my property. We can hit balls all day." And that was basically his idea of a holiday, was hitting balls in a different country. But he's, brilliant golfer, and I always sort of say the top 10 guys, I'll get some pretty bad shots and miss hit shots and that sort of thing. The top 10 were just never miss hit them. They'd hit some bad shots, but they just never miss hit shots.
When you play with someone like VJ or a top 10 player, does it lift your game? Is it sometimes better to be playing with those players?
I think it is, yeah. When guys are hitting it well, you're seeing less bad stuff. You're not seeing balls go in the water or guys sort of struggling. Because that same thing can happen if you've got guys missing putts, and then usually see the whole group struggle a little bit. But I always enjoyed playing with the good golfers and just seeing how my game matched up with it.
When I just mentioned that, it reminded me for some reason when Nick Flanagan was playing as an amateur, I think it was the
Masters,
the Australian Masters, and with Greg Norman, and he was just going toe to toe with him, and you're sort of going, it's like it was almost like the fact that he was playing next to Greg was lifting his game in that.
Yeah, I said Flano was the same thing. He was extremely good as a young player. He had some tough injuries, but he went toe to toe with Scotty later on in his career, when Adam was at his peak, and Nick hung with him for a long time as well. He was very good in that situation of being able to, especially when they might be in a spotlight group. Nick was as good a ball striker as those guys, and could hang with them at that level.
This isn't just a gym. It's where limits get broken. A place where community comes together, sweat turns into strength, and every drop is progress. No excuses, no egos, just results. Join Fitstop Newcastle today, a start to a better you.
We're going to go back to your caddy again, the big fella. How long were you a team for,
about 10 years. He's the only caddy I really had. He had one time where the only time I ever changed caddies, it was, I think he had a visa issue at one point, and
is he Australian?
Yeah, he's from Corowa. He's from down the coast, but he got on the bag on maybe my second or last year on the web.com tour, and the best bloke I've ever met. Like, it's so consistent. I've never seen him in a bad mood. My wife loved him. Everyone loved him. He was just the life of every party. And so talking to him today, he's still doing a bit of caddying, but just one of the best blokes you'll ever meet.
A caddy, obviously, so important. Did he play as well? I mean, is it important for a caddy to be able to?
Not all of them do, but he was a good golfer. He was a scratch or plus handicapper, and a very good golfer. But the more important thing is you're with him so much. You're with him 7 hours a day, 4 or 5 days a week. So it's just got to be someone you get along with well, and who sort of knows you fairly well, knows what to say at the right times, and knows when not to say anything and stuff like that. But Yeah, we had a great relationship. He was, I'd still, even though I don't
apart
get
from
to see him.
Augusta.
Well, apart from Augusta, everyone has their moments. We have, but just a tremendous guy. I think, one of the funniest guys you'll meet.
Was he one of those guys that, whatever he said, whatever club, you'd say yep, or was there times where you'd say no? Was there?
You sort of just work it out. I think a lot of the time I'd go with my gut feel. You sort of get certain shots that you're comfortable with, some you're uncomfortable with, and they can't feel that to the extent that you can. So you'll generally go with that. And as long as they sort of don't give you an "I told you so" when it goes wrong, then you're kind of happy. But he was a very good caddy. He's had, I think he was caddy for. He's still caddying a little bit for Ryan Palmer, I think, who's getting very close to 50 as well. So hopefully he's going to be on the main tour with him towards the end of the year. But
because it's the life as a caddy's a tough one as well. Because again, they've got to get there, check the layout, the pin placement, all that sort of stuff. It's almost like once a tournament's over, I suppose just like a golfer, they're already thinking about the next event.
He's and I said they're usually one or two in a room, and they're probably a bit more social than we are. But even though he definitely did, I never remember him turning up drunk or severely hungover. He always did a very good job on the bag. But they're very reliant on how well you do. So back when he was caddying, you're probably on $1,500 a week, but they've got to take their travel and everything out of that. They're relying on you to have a few good weeks for your 7% or 10% of a win or something like that. So it can be a super tough job. There's guys who do get on good bags and have done very well out of it. Steve Williams is the obvious one there, but for most of the guys, it's a good lifestyle for a single guy who just enjoys being around golf and that sort of thing, and they might be able to make a few bucks.
Well, there's a local caddy, and I don't know his second name. His name was Stewie.
Stewie caddied for Richard
Green, your namesake.
Yeah.
And it was at a time when Richard was he was based in Melbourne, wasn't he?
Yep.
Richard, no relation.
No.
But Richard was going through a really good patch, and I think he might have won the Australian Open or something like that, and won a few tournaments. And I think Stewie was a coal miner. Yep, he worked in the mines, so he took time off to do this. And I think finally, just sort of Stuart said, "Look, I've had enough. I'm going back to the mines. So, I've got a wife and a kid now." So Richard went off, and his game fell, turned to shit. And what ended up happening was that after that season, Richard came back to him and said, "Mate, what's it going to cost to get you back?"
Yep.
And he said, and he always named his price, but he also said, "You're also going to have to take my wife and kid on tour."
Yep.
And he did.
Yeah.
That's how important
it is. Getting the right guy is so important. It's just got to be
it's like a witch doctor. It's almost like I have to have him.
Yeah. Well, I struggled with other caddies. I sort of still did okay, but we were just a good match, I think. It was we always enjoyed ourselves. We always enjoyed each other's company, and until as my game went downhill, I said I was pretty tough to deal with on the course at the end. I said I wasn't enjoying the whole process, and fortunately for him, but unfortunately he ended up getting on Jared Lyle's bag, and it was I think the first year that he got sick again. So from there, I think he went on to some other bags, but he might have only had a year or something on Jared's bag after that.
I'll just stay on that point where you mentioned, and you've mentioned it a few times, where you just weren't enjoying it. Was there any time where you sort of thought to yourself, I worked my ass off to get here. Like, what am I thinking? Like I'm here now, and now I'm not enjoying it. Where you're probably thinking at the same time there'd be thousands of other people that would kill for this. Did you ever think that?
Yeah, I could just feel parts of the game that I thought were a little bit not recoverable. I think my putting, so I went from being probably one of the best putters in the world to getting the yips a little bit, and it was enough to kill my confidence on the greens, and from there my chipping was struggling, and I wasn't a good enough ball striker to have that go wrong. So in the back of my mind, I think I just realised it was going to be a real battle, and I'd have to work unbelievably hard to get back to where I was. And same thing in the back of my mind, I knew that what that took is not what I wanted to do. I didn't want to be away from the family that much. And I said we had kids late, so it was something we always wanted was to have kids, and probably didn't feel it was fair to leave Michelle with them dealing with that all the time. And as much as we loved it, and we absolutely love living in America, and in an ideal world, once the kids are grown up, I'd love to spend a few months there every year. But I was sort of happy to walk away from it in the end. It was a much easier decision than I thought. I think we got halfway through 14 and I looked like I wasn't going to keep my card on either tour at that point, and we sort of said, how about we call it quits and head home. We sort of had everything sort of set up to move home by that point. And we bought a house in 2008 that was getting rented out, and we probably wanted our kids to grow up around their grandparents and stuff like that, as much as we loved it over there. And saying goodbye to, we were pretty ingrained over there. Had some great friends that we still managed to catch up with a little bit, but just walking away from that life, it's actually quite difficult coming home. For me, not really having that real purpose in life anymore, that thing that drove me for so long. But came home, did a traineeship, tried to work out what I was going to do, and it sort of just went from there. But it was a fairly easy decision in the end.
There was actually a headline today, I think it was Lane Beachley, the former surfer. She said, competing at 36, retired, lost at 37.
Yeah.
You know, like it's almost like it's a completely different gear shift, and to get back into normal life sometimes I think probably more for sporting people.
Yeah, I think even your relationship sort of changes because you are home so much, and you do lose that drive, and you're trying to work out what you're going to do next. And
that's why you're playing a lot of cricket and soccer now.
Yeah, I said, well, that was just a sideline of it. I said it was mainly because I did have a bit of spare time. Then whenever they sort of said who's going to coach, then most people pointed at me. But it was so that's a funny thing. I enjoy the soccer coaching. I enjoy the cricket coaching. Golf coaching, I think I'm decent at it. It takes a certain person to do it, but I just never felt great at it. I never felt that never got a great deal of enjoyment out of it, actually. So,
well, Dave's booking you for next week.
He hasn't seen my price list, but to get me back out there. But I still like doing a few odd lessons here and there, whether it's mates or I know I usually throw up a few for a charity day or something like that. But,
you won one US PGA Tour event, the Canadian Open. I think we got a picture. There you go. Is that before they escorted you away?
Yeah, I think they were worried. I think I'd almost hit them a couple of times when I played 18. They were standing up the back of the green, and
but that would have been. I mean, to win an event, that's again, it might have only been one, but and I know you won the New Zealand Open as well, but a US
so it came out of the blue. It was so I had some really good chances in my first couple of years. I think I might have had 5 or 6 top 10s first year, and a couple of them I was right up there. I had a chance to win the Colonial event at Fort Worth one year. I might have been leading or co-leading going into the last round. And that one there, I think I'd even during the week, I sort of resigned to the fact that I probably wasn't going to keep my card that year. I think I told my manager, look, if you're speaking to him, I had a sports site guy. I said, look, I haven't been using him. Don't worry about him. Just let him know that I won't be using him anymore or something like that. And just out of the blue, I just had a great week. I always felt comfortable playing in Canada after playing there a lot early in my pro career. And out of the blue, had a great week. And to win, things need to fall your way. I think Retief missed a really short putt in the first playoff hole, and no one on the last day went crazy low. So you're relying on a lot of things to win, and just on a perfect storm to finally win one. But
you know what? I actually looked at the scorecard of that Canadian Open event yesterday, and do you remember who came third or equal third?
I honestly couldn't even tell you what I shot.
Well, no, I say this because we're leading into this. Anthony Kim.
Did he? Yeah, all right. Yeah, wow.
And what I mean, Anthony Kim. I mean, the biggest comeback you've seen.
It's a phenomenal story. Like, he was actually quite a nice guy. He was pretty brash and lived an exciting sort of, very exciting sort of life. And it's tough to hear the stuff that he went through in that 10 years. We all knew that he had some sort of he was battling with a few injuries, and there was some sort of life insurance or some sort of insurance policy that if he never played again, he'd had a multi-million-dollar settlement, but he had to not play or something like that. So I'm not sure what it took to get him over the line to live. And I think last year there was a lot of naysayers, and I was probably one of them that thought his game was gone. And because
I mean, he's back on, back playing with Liv for the last two seasons, 2 years, and really hadn't shown anything that
could barely break par. And shooting some big numbers. It was almost, I think there was always a lot of people in the golf world who had seen what he did over there, and phenomenal ball striker and an immense talent. Like, he was of that upper echelon.
I mean, they were talking about the next Tiger, weren't they? At the time? You could just tear courses apart, and said he played a similar way to Tiger. He just went for everything, and it came off for him. I think that he won Charlotte really convincingly one year, which was a tough course, and then it was just over. I'm not sure if it was like wrist injuries and stuff like that, but there was very little shown in the last couple of years that something like this was on the horizon for him. But also, too, I mean, you talk about how easy it is to stray from your work. I mean, injuries, addictions. I mean, I suppose that just shows how easy it is to, I suppose, fall off and, fall off the wagon, so to speak.
Yeah, for sure. I think a lot of it has to do with the people you surround yourself with as well. I think that was one thing I was incredibly lucky with. I had really good people around me and really good advice. I think the lifestyle of a pro golfer can attract a little bit of the wrong sort of people, especially when you have success so young, as what he did. But
I mean, he vanished for
no one knew where he was. No one knew what he was doing. Yeah, I think there was a couple of people. Colt Knost, I think, who does a bit of commentary now in the States. He was in Dallas, and he was one of the few ones who was semi in contact with him during that period. So I couldn't be happier for him. I think it's one of the greatest golf stories you'll ever see. Is what he's come back from. I think that people just sort of noticed that, having not seen him for so long, just how different he looked as well. And there was always a lot of questions about what had happened to him. But to win the way he did, playing basically the same way he used to, but the two guys who he beat to do it, but two of the top 10 players in the world still, in my eyes, and he did it with class and did it with just huge amounts of confidence. Just he birdied. It said those courses down there, Australian courses are always difficult because they're difficult around the greens, but he played like someone who'd never left the game. It was great.
Before we get on Live Golf, just being on tour, as you mentioned, the grind of playing the PGA, and then at the end of it, come back to Australia and play the Australian sort of circuit. Was that hard for you too? It's almost like you wanted a rest, but then you feel obliged to have to play the Australian ones, which I know you probably wanted to, but at that time of the year would have been time to go, I just want my engines to.
Oh, not really. I think 10 months or so. We always went to the States early January, always come home for Christmas, except for the years, I think when we had our second child. Every other year we were home for Christmas. So we always tried to fit in a few events along with it. We end up coming home for a month most years, and you're always excited to come home. So chances to play on the courses that we play in Australia as well. It's some of the best golf in the world, and always just fun events to play. You played them with a lot less pressure than the events over there. You felt like you were one of the better players, and it was easier to play well. I think.
Sad that there's no Australian Masters anymore.
Yeah, extremely. I think it tried to survive for a few years. I think it'd be great to see a couple of events there. You can see from Live Golf that there is an appetite for people to go and watch golf. There's people travel from everywhere to see it, and then I think they I think my boys were watching a YouTube thing the other day and they were commenting. Jason Day was talking to someone who'd played in the Aussie Open and just how big the crowds were in Melbourne and that for that. There is a market for it. Just how hard our tour is working to get some big events back in place, because they are the springboard for our young golfers. If they can play an event like that and play well and win 50 grand or something like that, that'll fuel them for the next year. That'll fuel their travel and Q schools and stuff like that. At the moment, we have some smaller events, but it does make it difficult to make enough money to travel. I think they may have tied in a few, maybe top couple might get some sort of card on the DP tour maybe or something like that. I'm not exactly sure, but we need to have a stronger Australian tour if we're going to have more players overseas.
Tired of missing out on the best properties? Stop searching, start winning. At Optimum Buyers Agency, we work for you, not the seller. We negotiate harder, we move faster, we find the homes others don't. Off-market deals, smart strategy, real results. Whether it's your first home or your forever home, we make it happen. Optimum Buyers Agency, your edge in a competitive market. Just on Live Golf, I suppose it's a bit divided, the golfing community. But I tell you what, the crowds, it's just, some of those people would never have gone to a game of golf.
Yeah.
And now they are. So I take it's a good thing. I know there's the whole Saudi money and all that sort of thing, but how do you sit on with this?
I think it's a good thing. I'm not super interested, and I don't watch a whole lot of golf. I watch a little bit of the PGA Tour. I think it's, besides the Aussie one, a lot of them are hard to watch because they play a shotgun start. So basically the day's all over in a 5-hour window, but I think it's a great what's it called? A great setup for a tournament. And I think there's concerts and that sort of thing. They do the whole lot. So there's a lot more happening besides just golf. And I think it's got a little bit to do with I think there's been a real boom in golf actually in the age group that we always used to lose them at. I think that 18 to 25-year-old or even 16 to 25-year-old range where guys used to go and do something else, there's a lot more social golf and people just going out and playing than we used to have. So I don't know if it's got something to do with Live Golf or
would you have, if it was around when you were playing on the PGA, do you think it would have lured you across?
I played basically for money and for a living. So if I was offered even a tenth of what Cameron Smith was offered, I would have jumped at it. I think
the Shark hasn't rang you last few years, has he?
No, he might have seen my last few Stableford score events and said I'll give him a miss. But I think it's a decent product. I said hasn't caught my attention, but it has caught lots of people's attention. So I think it's been great for Elvis Smiley as well, going in there and winning his first event. He's basically changed his life in 1 week, and having that Aussie team there, I think. Yeah, he's really good as well. Mark Leishman's still playing great golf, tremendous guy.
Did you ever get to play I suppose, in teams events in your career?
I played one World Cup with Nick O'Hearn. I think it was one of those events not many people wanted to play. I think I would have been around about my highest world ranking, and it was somewhere around 70, and I might have been the fourth or fifth highest Aussie, and no one else really wanted to go. So it was Nick O'Hearn. I think Adam Scott had turned it down. Ogilvy turned it down and went and played in Shenzhen in China for that one. And we really didn't have the type of games that would go well in that sort of event. In looking at it in hindsight, we're not both shorter hitters, both not massive birdie makers, very difficult in the format they play, which was I think it was a 4-ball and a 4-ball and foursomes, which is foursomes we were okay at because we did hit the ball single distances and we didn't play a super attacking game, but Yeah,
so they wouldn't have been calling you up for a President's Cup or
definitely not. I was never in that conversation. I was never, as I said, I was wrapped to get where I did in with my golf. So the only regrets I have is that I just never feel like I overplayed my best golf. That's the one thing looking at it. I just never played. So I always played with high stress and high anxiety levels, and the best golfer, and I think I did mention this yesterday, is at the moment Scotty Scheffler. I just watched a little bit of the last round of Pebble Beach. I've never seen someone like him who just plays. He plays like it's a practice round. He plays like he's playing with his mates. I think he was well off the pace after the first round of Pebble Beach this week, and the 18th at Pebble is a tough hole, and he's got himself to around about. He got himself to 18 under with one to play, and the lead might have been at 20 at that point. And you would almost guarantee he would make eagle, and so he hits a good drive, and with the wind coming off the left. I think he had like a 5 on or something like that in there. So he's probably got about 200 yards left. Wind's coming off the ocean and he hits it to 3 feet and taps it in. Like, I've never seen anyone play. Like, Tiger played with a high level of energy and emotion and that's sort of what fueled his game. But Scheffler just plays great and plays with ease, and I've never seen anyone really play like that. I don't think he just plays with not much emotion.
You just mentioned that you think you've never played your best, and you also mentioned about nerves. Was that the reason? Do you think if you could have overcome that, you could have reached that potential? You're
absolutely,
saying?
I do.
I mean, to most people listening to this would be going, watching this would be just going, well, mate, you're on the you've done more than most people would. But and again, I suppose you've got that as high standards. But then you talk about the worry of nerves and stuff like that, which most people would think, you get nervous, but it sounds like it really affected you at times.
Yeah, it did. I always played a very guarded sort of game. I was always conscious of where trouble was, and I always tried to eliminate the big number. So I never really played. And even now, I struggle off the tee in tournaments. I just tension and those sorts of things. And I played. I were out at Dubbo with a cricket thing last week, and the day after the event, we went and played Dubbo, which is a great little country course. And I was playing with one of our first graders from Steve Mudford, and good golfer. But for the whole day, I've just hit basically straight down the middle of every fairway. And he sort of knew a little bit of the story of it. And he goes, "How do you not play like this in tournaments?" And I've gone, I just can't. For some reason, I just start seeing trouble. And but yeah, usually in practice now, I hit the ball well and don't miss many fairways and hit it out the middle. And I just can't seem to, even now, get it over the line in tournaments when I play, which is frustrating. But anyway, it was still a good career. But I said I felt like I could have offered a lot more had I been able to get on top of that side of it.
You just mentioned Tiger Woods before. You never played a round with him, but you played a playoff hole against him. That was the 2006 Buick Invitational in California. I think we might have some vision of that as well. I mean, again, pressure. It doesn't get any more pressure than playing a playoff against Tiger.
Just inside of 80 yards.
He does. Second hole out from down the bottom of the hill. Aaron Oberholzer. That is an eagle. Nathan Green is 11 under par. Now Mickelson squeezes his in for a birdie. Remember, he was on the back fringe. He's in double figures.
Mickelson's birdie moves him to within one of Green's lead. He shares the second spot with Woods at 10 under par.
But again, the playoff, it was let down, and obviously Tiger wins the trophy. Again, that was one that got away?
A little bit. I think for my career over there, I think it was a good thing that I didn't win. For one reason.
Why is that?
One reason it actually gets replayed now because Tiger won it. I don't think it'd get replayed if I won it. But when I did eventually win, it was sort of the beginning of the end of my my time over there. So that was actually one of the weeks I was still riding a really big high from the Hawaii event. I was pretty happy with the way I played there, and actually drove the ball very well that week. I think even in the playoff, I ripped it down the middle and in both the last hole to make birdie in regulation, and then in the first hole of the playoff. But just hit a poor second shot. But that was, I sort of felt like I belonged a little bit by that point, even though it was only early. I played the last round there with Phil Mickelson, and another guy was great to play with was Chatty. And then even the last hole, I knocked on in 2 and really difficult putt, rolled about 5 feet past and managed to make it. And I got one of Phil's thumbs up for that one, which was nice. But I'm
actually going to show you a picture of you in the Buick here, and I want to see whether you remember that.
No, I don't remember.
So that was what you missed a part leading into the playoffs. So I mean, and it was, I think it was like a 4-footer, but it just clipped the edge.
So that was before the playoff. There, it might have been.
So I mean,
17.
that you hold that. This is how the inches, centimeters, millimeters. You hold that. There's no playoff.
Yeah, but probably if it's the putt, I think it is. If it's a putt on 17, which was 17 was a difficult hole. I blocked it right. I still remember that hole fairly well. Blocked it right, hit it up short right, hit a good chip, and it's funny the things you hear. I remember someone in the crowd going, "You just lost the tournament," or something along those lines. And but had I made that putt, I probably would have played the last hole a bit differently. So I ended up knocking up the middle. I actually went for the green in 2 because I knew I needed a birdie. Maybe in hindsight, had I parred 17, I may have laid up on 18 and tried to make birdie that way. And you never know what would have happened. But watching it now, it feels like you're looking at someone else's life. It feels like it never happened.
Does it feel like? I mean, even now when you might be playing around at Toronto, and you stop and you go, and you think and go, did all that happen?
It does. It definitely feels like that. And I said I'm 10 years removed from it basically, and
like it was a dream.
It is, yeah. It was 10 years. It was just this amazing 10-year span of my life that I still remember parts of it really well. I remember more about our lifestyle and that sort of thing more than the golf itself. I remember the feeling of stress I had over some putts.
Stress again.
That putt on the last hole there, I still remember standing over it to get into the playoff. I basically remember most of the shots from it. I think I remember the shot that they show there, and I don't know whether I remember it just because I've actually seen the replays a few times. I couldn't really remember a whole lot of other shots in that last day, but I do remember the playoff and where I hit it and that sort of thing. But for the rest of it, it was just an incredible 10-year period that I loved. And now I look back on it, and it's all a little bit of a blur. So I've never spoken about it, even being in situations like this. I do get a bit of anxiety about talking about it and that sort of thing. And
I've actually wanted to get you on this show. When we started this podcast, you were pretty much in the top 5 of who I wanted, because I've always thought, you're one of the top sportsmen that's come from this area, and I don't think you get the plaudits that you deserve in regard. I know that's something that everyone respects you, but to play golf at that high level is a massive thing. I've got some random shots which we normally do, and I just want to explain.
Yeah, I'd actually.
So that's the day.
That's the 17th at Sawgrass, I think.
And that's not a birthmark.
No, well, I've got one of the top 5 worst. And I remember it for 2 reasons. It was the 17th at Sawgrass, and they talk about the sunrise there, but they also call this little bit of hair I've got at the front of my head the 17th at Sawgrass as well. So I sort of remember it for sort of 2 reasons. But I was lucky I had a living where I could wear a hat.
It looks like it was the first time you shaved your head, because you're a lot more tanned on top now.
It's just wear a hat. I used to just wear a hat everywhere and every day. I think I'm probably the number 3 seed. I think Stuart Sink's got the award on that one. He's I think he had the original sort of top deck chocolate. He was but it's not my best look, definitely.
Thank me later.
Thank you.
Next, playing with the Shark.
Yeah, the only time I really played with him was probably my best round of my career. I think it actually gets mentioned a few times. It was the first round of an Australian Open at Royal Sydney. That's probably the second round, because first round it was rain and cold, and I think 2 guys broke par. I shot 5 under, and I think there was maybe a 2 under or a 3 under. But
well, was that a big day for you too? Like, I'm so nervous. I'd be nervous, but growing up, seeing Greg Norman,
absolutely,
and all of a sudden you're like, holy shit, I'm playing with him now.
Yeah, it was. I know it was exciting for the whole family. I know Mum and Dad still see that. It was they had a photo very similar to that on the wall. I think they may still have it, but that was a huge day for me. Yeah, I was a huge fan of his growing up. Him and Baker Finch were probably my 2 idols, and to play with him there. And there was glimpses. He was well past his best. I don't think he was playing that regularly at all, and he struggled first round, but big crowds. And I think the last hole of the day, on the second day, he needed to make birdie, and I think he hit it to about 20 feet, and they were 4 deep or 5 deep around the last at Royal Sydney, and he made this big breaking putt to make the cut. But phenomenal golfer. Certainly one of the most memorable couple of days of my career. That one.
At the time of that picture, Norman was 8 over and you were 6 under.
Yeah, it must have been early second round then. I think just another one that got away. I think John Senden ended up winning that week on what is one of my favourite courses, and they've just done a redo, which is incredible. But always loved playing Royal Sydney, and to play there with the Shark. I think Matt Giles. It's funny how things go around. Matt Giles was the Australian Amateur Champion and maybe World Junior Championship at that champion at that point, and I played with him. He's now a member of the Australian, but I played with him 3 months ago in the Royal Sydney Cup, and we're actually talking about during the day. He's sort of now just doing other work. He's in corporate stuff, but it was a great time. It was I think there's some of the times I do miss. So I really enjoyed playing in Australia. I think it was there was nothing riding on how I performed in those events, so it was always a little bit less demanding, I think.
This one's a beauty. The Trumpster.
Yeah, got the chance to play with him in, I think it was maybe the 2010, as part of the FedEx Cup. I think it was the first time they'd played at Liberty National, which is used to stay in town, used to take the ferry to the course and go past the Statue of Liberty on the way. And they'd warned me that I was going to play with him before the round, and it was an interesting day. Played with him, and
because he can play, can't he?
He can play. That's the thing I hear about people, and I know they may juice up the numbers on some of his club championships that he's won, but an extremely good golfer. He was hit it long. He was a big guy. Hit it pretty long, and even now, one of our old mates who used to play, Dave Luderis, seems to play with him a little bit. They must have mutual friends, that sort of stuff, and the guy can still play. I think at the time I would have said he's a legitimate 1 or 2 handicap, but hit it basically just a little bit shorter than me, but had a very good game. Interesting day. He was quite good to talk to. He was very. He sort of asked a little bit about me and where I was from, and I think at the time, he wasn't in politics then. I think he'd had his TV show, or what was that, The Apprentice or something like that.
Yeah.
And I've lost a name at the moment. What was who was our Miss Universe, or whatever it was, from Newcastle?
Jennifer Hawkins.
Jennifer Hawkins, and I sort of mentioned I was from the same hometown as her, and he was glowing of her and the job she did when she was in that role, and what a great person she was, and he wasn't so much fond of the one who was the one at that time, but he was so he was a decent player. He had a few stories. I said his personality changed a little bit when there was a lot of people around, but yeah, interesting day. I said
did you beat him?
Maybe not even that day. I said I was playing. It was a super hard course, and also playing from the back. There was one hole during the actual tournament where I asked if I could take an unplayable because it was like a 230-metre water carry, and it was cold and windy and wet. So it was a phenomenal place. It was a course that was built on an old rubbish tip and reclaimed land, and they turned into this amazing golf course and brilliant facility. But yeah, one of those interesting days you look back on now, knowing where he is now and that sort of stuff. But,
I'm just glad your name wasn't brought up in the Epstein files.
Well, not yet, but it's no, it's yeah, certainly he was certainly an interesting kind of guy. I said I'm not going to say anymore. I'd love to go back to the States someday, and they're obviously checking social media and that sort of
David's
stuff.
already thinking that's just going to be a great reel for next week in the lead up. Next, brother Darren, when did you first get the love for golf? Who was it? Was it your dad?
No, Dad. And that was it was actually a really lucky thing in our lives. I think Mum and Dad were very unsporty. Dad played a little bit of squash. He was like a B-grade squash player. But Darren was always super sporty growing up, and I basically just followed him along to whatever he did. So I remember when we worked at the courts, we had an old set of clubs that my mum's dad, my grandfather on that side, had. We used to just go across the road into the paddock, into the fields and smash balls away. And then eventually Darren got my grandfather my other grandfather played at Newcastle and so did my nan. So when they stopped playing, Darren got his clubs and I got nan's clubs. So it was basically just a Sunday sport for us. It was never that important to us. It was just a bit of fun. We went and played cadets at Waratah, and they had a great little program going over there. And
I think Darren ended up being the pro at Waratah, wasn't he?
He did his traineeship there, and then he's had a few jobs. He's been at Toronto now for about 20 years, but he was up at Westside at Rutherford for a little bit, did a little bit at Beresfield, but he's been part of the furniture at Toronto for a long time.
Another person you played with, John Daly, was a time when he was really a sideshow, wasn't it? Was it sad in a way when you see his career? I mean, he had so much talent, but again, like I suppose the Anthony Kims, saw things on the side and.
Yeah, I think I said to people, I think you surround yourself with have probably got a little bit to answer for there. I think he seems to be one of those guys easily led and didn't really have anyone there to pull him into line or whatever you might say. But I still remember the first PGA, I think it was he won, where he was a second or third alternate and got there the night before the event started and end up winning. I can't remember the name of the course, but I do actually remember him playing that event. He was sitting at miles past everyone. I think he was not sure what tour he had been playing on or whatever, but played with him a few times and a super guy to play with. Always had good shot, whatever. We had an interesting day. Tampa Bay one year we had, I'm not sure what round it was, but it was one of those days where the rain came in. We'd played about 10 holes or something like that, and they said, look, we're calling it off. Took us off the course for dangerous weather. Most of us would go back to the clubhouse, and that week was actually a good week. They had basketball courts and everything there for us and stuff like that. And we sang out there. John at the time was sponsored by Hooters, so he went back to the Hooters tent. There was a Hooters tent set up on 17, so him and his caddy went back there. I'm not sure what John got up to in that. There was about a 6-hour period we were off the course, and it looked like there was no chance that we were going to go back out and play. And then we ended up getting a call at, it must have been about 6 o'clock, and they said, look, we're going to try and get an hour of play in. And John was able to come and play. His caddy was not able to come back out. But instead,
Is that a disqualification?
nah, lucky you could change your caddy. But yeah, I think it was might have been one of the oysters he ate or something. But it was he ended up getting a mate of his, John Gruden, who was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers coach at the time, to come out and caddy the last 5 holes. And I was a big living in Dallas. You became, it was like being in Newcastle. How big the Knights are here, you could times that by 10 on how big Dallas Cowboys are. So it was easy to get into NFL, and I knew of John Gruden, and he was one of the sort of very charismatic coach. He still does a fair bit of stuff on ESPN now, but spent 5 holes with him, and it was a brilliant afternoon. I don't think either of us were playing great golf, but it was just as much fun us having him there and talking to him about football. And for him, it was way out of his comfort zone as well. And he had a ball, and just a very memorable afternoon, actually. It was a great day.
Brilliant story.
Yeah.
I want to show you the next pic, I reckon, is the greatest sporting photo of all time.
Yeah. I'm not sure. He's had some interesting moments.
I think he just won the British. It might have been the British Open.
Yeah, it's the last at. Yeah, usually you look forward to going to the 19th hole after a round, but he's. I'm not sure what number wife that one is.
Mate,
either.
you wouldn't be going to that 19th hole, or some would. I don't know. Yeah. We talk about John Daly. He loved to drink, but there's other people that love doing other stuff as well. Miguel Angel Jimenez. You see a pattern forming there?
The world's most interesting man. He's extremely good golfer. Someone who did it a bit, who does it a bit different. Very unorthodox swing. Seems to just love the game, and that's one thing. A lot of the Spanish and a lot of the South American guys did. They really enjoyed themselves off course and on course, and played with a lot of flair, and he's one of them.
I could watch this guy all day.
Yeah.
It's almost like he's got this swagger. It's almost like he's the sort of guy you want in a nightclub next to you, and he probably would.
Yeah.
But walking around with a cigar, I mean,
it seems like there's always one of those guys always music playing in his head or something like that. He's always, from his warm up to the way he plays. It's
Did you play with him once?
I played with him once, and I don't remember what it was. I just remember trying to hit a tee shot with cigar smoke. I said, I'm pretty bad asthmatic, and I remember just coughing, and I said, mate, can you please just go somewhere else while I'm hitting? But he was fine. He's, as I said, extremely good golfer, and everyone sort of worked out what works for them, and to be able to play with, I said, I was always jealous of guys who could just play with that sort of freedom and natural ability. He's just
it probably had a lot to do with his warm up. Have you seen? Yeah. Did you do anything like this before?
I wouldn't do it on the range if I was doing it. I think I'd do a bit of a warm up. But that's easy. Besides the veranda over the tool shed, he's in amazing shape for a guy at that age.
Yeah. Is the knee wobble?
Yeah.
And he does this religiously before every
round. Yep. Yeah. But there's a reason you can still do it. I said very sort of unorthodox sort of action, but
it's a good thing the cigar keeps him in shape.
To be able to play like that and still be in that sort of shape. I think he's mid-60s. So yeah, great golfer.
You made over $6 million in prize money. It set you up for life, didn't it? I mean, when you think of it, it gave you this position where you could come back to the hunter and live a life. Do you look back and you feel privileged?
Oh, absolutely. I think, to never have to have a proper job and to be able to do something. And as much as it stressed me, that sort of thing, I loved it. I loved playing golf, and I still love playing golf. I think a lot of the guys I played with who did play strictly for the game don't play anymore and that sort of stuff. I love playing casual golf, and I was extremely lucky to be able to do it for as long as I did. I I was very lucky in who I was married to, actually. Like she's a legend. And even while a lot of the other wives are living very extravagant in the States and when they played, we were always fairly modest on it. We never travelled first class or did anything like that. It was always under the impression, I think, in the back of my mind that I wouldn't be a career player. I think I wouldn't be doing it at 70. And I knew that at some point I would have to be a little bit financially responsible and actually look after my future. So not doing too bad, but the other thing that I was very fortunate to get is the PGA Tour was always a non-profit, so they had to funnel their money into different things. So they had the PGA Tour pension plan, which I was lucky enough to get. So, at the moment, I don't have to do a whole lot, which is allowing me to spend a lot of time with the kids and do the stuff I really want to do. But
have you ever thought about what you would have done if you didn't make it?
It actually worries me, I think, because I never had a real backup plan. I never had any idea what I would do outside of golf. I think with my golf, I had a very good work ethic, I think, and so hopefully I would have been able to get into something and apply that in another way. But I had no idea. And that's why I worry about my boys as well. The younger one, also the older one, he's only 14, but he's sort of already asking, what am I going to do? And I said, oh, mate, you got plenty of time to decide that. But, never, besides working in a bottle shop and doing a bit of mowing at the crematorium, I've never had a proper job. I've done a little bit of work in the pro shop with Darren. As I said, did that for probably 3 years, just working part-time, doing about 20 hours a week. Extremely fortunate.
Just finally, any over 35s soccer this year?
I'm thinking no. I'm just starting to.
Was that after a grand final win, that one?
Yeah, the Toads. I think it's the first year that team isn't going to exist. I think we had what do we got? We got 4 or 5 Englishmen, Irishmen, and that's, I think, decent team. I think I think last year wrecked it for us. I said we've been together for a long time, and they kept putting us in A grade, and no longer at that level. So we're getting. Last year we were just getting pumped every week, and
mate,
it was unenjoyable.
I played about 3 years of over 35s, and it's almost like we made the semis one year, got booted out in the first game. Next year, we were up a grade. I'm like, wow, that's all right. We're in B grade, and then next thing, I think we just made the semis again. We're in A grade, and it was almost like the fun had just sucked out of it, because when you get to A grade, it's sheep stations. Everyone,
there's some proper footballers. I think last year we played Marylands or whatever it is over there at Fletcher, and they had Scotty Smith and Goodchild who were just fresh out of NPL. I keep forgetting his name, and I shouldn't, because I love watching him when he played for the Jets. But so the blondie-haired midfielder for the Jets.
Do we know David? David's a Jets aficionado.
He played up at Maitland for a little bit as well.
Matt Thompson?
Yeah, Tomo was playing for him. And they were just loaded. I think they beat us 12-0 over there one night. It was the most unenjoyable evening you could possibly have. It was like we play over 35s for fun, and same as the Masters cricket, we play it for fun and for the social side of it. So that wasn't that enjoyable. But, starting to just have a few niggles. But last year was the first year I was getting to Friday nights and it was cold, and I'm thinking I didn't want to go, which sucks, because it's always been a big part of my life, football, and I might end up playing just as a reserve for someone this year.
Just sign up.
Sign up for something.
Or just turn up and just go out under an assumed name. No one will know who you are.
Yeah. No, they don't. Even when I was playing golf, they didn't know, but it was I said always loved my sport, and said I'll play more for as long as I can. But that's where I'm lucky with golf. You can play it at A level for as long as you like.
Nathan Green, it's been an absolute pleasure for being on Incredible Lives with Cainey, and I think there's a crematorium to mow tomorrow.
I hope not.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks.